Morning, everybody. Morning. I promised Ben and Joy I'd start exactly at 8:30, so it's 8:31. So I missed it. Thank you all again for attending. I hope you guys had a great time last night. I really do. We had a great discussion after watching the basketball game last night, and I thank you for that. And hopefully we'll answer all your questions that were brought up last night at dinner and after, and I think you're all going to find today to be extremely productive. My comments today will be very short. I just wanted to basically say that, again, this event, this will be the fourth year, and it's pretty much done to set priorities and goals for the SLA for the coming year. Your presence, your commitment, and more importantly, your ideas will set the groundwork for the Surplus Lines Association to better serve its members in 2018 and beyond. Now, my big thing this morning is to set some housekeeping rules for the next couple of hours. What we're going to do after the general session concludes, after Ben's comments, what we're going to do is take a group photo in this room, or is it outside? Outside, okay. And then we will go into our breakout sessions. The SLA staff liaisons will show you, each of you, to your rooms, where you will meet, greet, snack, deliberate from 9:30 till around 11:25, and then before breaking for a working lunch. We will then reassemble here at 1 and listen to a 5-minute presentation, though I know that it never lasts 5 minutes per presentation, so let's say 6 to 7, from each committee chair on 3 priorities. That's what we're asking for everybody to give us, just 3 priorities. Here's the best part. After that, we will adjourn for the day. Thank you again for being here and taking part of this. I personally am happy to know that I got to meet the future. A lot of young people here. Hopefully even next year we'll have more. It's wonderful to see a mix of senior and young people getting into the industry, and those that have been in the industry like me for 100 years, still committed to making this just a better place to work. Especially in California, in the Surplus Lines Association. So having said that, I'd like to reintroduce Ben, who will pretty much lead us into what we're going to be doing today.
Remember Mary Matlin? Do you remember her? She did a speech at one of our events. I just put this glass here and it made me remember. This is not a part of my prepared comments. She gave a speech, and she was having a good time at the table and had her wine glass, and came up and gave her speech and put her wine glass right there, and then stood behind it the whole time. So I put mine, I'll stand over here. And it's water, by the way. Yeah, right, test it. So something that I neglected to talk about, but yet, I'm tongue-tied. Something I neglected to talk about yesterday, but is relevant. Giving a little historical context to this exact meeting. You know, the reality is this meeting didn't exist, I think, 4 years ago. And what we realized, and by we I mean Bob, was that having board meetings was good, effective, but it created what Tim and I were just talking about, you know, the same group think. Right, so the board would talk to themselves. A couple months later, they get together and they talk to themselves. A few months later, they get together and they talk to themselves. And Bob had the idea of, we need to get some more thoughts, some more brains in the room thinking about these things. So it's not just the 13 of us every few months doing this. And it would, you know, and we're a people industry, so why don't we get some people together? And so the idea evolved into this committee day. So we actually removed a board meeting from our agenda, from our annual schedule, and we created this meeting. And really, it was Bob's idea. So Bob, thank you for that foresight. This is, you know, it turned out to be, yeah. And as a result, it's made our processes so much more robust. And you know, It's always a great idea, but I particularly appreciate it when I'm sitting down with the auditors and they ask me how we make decisions, and I'm able to walk them through this process that includes 70 people at a committee day. That's where we start. Wow, right? And then when I walk them through this whole process, we have our ideas at committee day. Those ideas then are presented to the board in June, committee day being now. In June, the board looks at this myriad of ideas, kind of reorders them, says, we're most interested in these 10, we're most interested in these 10 in year 1, these 10 in year 2, these 10 in year 3, which is something I should have said last night as well. We're not just looking at a one-year window. It's not sort of what can we do today. It's what can we do today, tomorrow, and the next day. So our strategic planning is a three-year out process. So the board will sequence, what they think is important, and so they'll sequence it from most important to least important. Then they'll overlay that with what can get done, what's most practical in their minds, and then they'll sequence that with what can get done over in what time frame. So there's sort of 3 prioritizations that happen. Then that goes to the stamping committee, and the stamping committee meets in September, and then the stamping committee in September will now have that list, but it'll have numbers attached to it. Here's the estimate of what staff thinks each of these projects will cost. And then stamping committee will reorder it based on that, right? They'll say, wow, this was a really great project for $10,000. It's not such a great project for $100,000, right? So that's, so that's what the stamping committee will generally do. Then that goes to the board again in October. And that's when the final budget is created. And that final budget, to the extent that your projects need funding, and some of them won't, they'll be in that budget. And then that gets reviewed again next year a couple of times, including in June of the following year, which is when we do the budget pivot. And after the October meeting is when we'll create the new strategic plan, or what we call the innovation plan. And that'll show year 1, year 2, year 3. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So that's by way of telling you your charge today is not, what can get done by December 31st, right? You can think longer than that and recognize that whatever you come up with is going to be bounced off of and prioritized against the other things that are happening in the other rooms, okay? So, questions? Hearing none, let's talk a little bit about, and this will only take about 5 minutes. But I know this is like the time when you have the most attention, right? So I should probably talk the longest now. But I do want to give you a sense of some of the things we've accomplished based on last year's meeting. One of the things we try and be robust about is keeping track when things, if things happen, telling you about it. If they don't happen and they fall off, tracking that so that we know there was a reason that happened. But we've had a pretty remarkable year, and sometimes you can't control things. For instance, a year ago, the number of items we were processing was in the 620,000 range. The number of items, if you do a floating year, so today back 12 months, it's 720,000 items. So the number of items is just growing exponentially, and that's because you guys are working really hard, and because you have to place more policies to get the same premium, because premium over the last 5 years is down about 5%. So you have to place about 8% more policies just to stay even. What does that mean for us? It just means a lot more work. It means we're focusing a lot on how do we process those policies properly. One of the ideas that's been kicked around is, can we outsource some of those functions? And so that's in process right now. I've been talking with the department as recently as last week. I got an email as recently as 2 days ago from them, just trying to work out the particulars of how that might happen. So that's new to us. That's a huge project, huge time suck. The idea, though, is eventually that'll take care of, hopefully, that dramatic increase in item count. We moved our offices this past year. Some of you may know that we now have an office on Battery Street. We used to be at 50 Cal, now we're at 275 Battery. And then the bulk of the organization is down in San Ramon at a place called Bishop Ranch, which is off about 20 minutes south of here. That was, as any of you who've been through a move know, that's epic. And in fact, if you saw yesterday, we had the camera kind of rolling around our new offices, showing our employees and the new space. We're definitely proud of it. It's definitely a good place to work. But what we were trying to accomplish from a budget standpoint was paying the same rent that we were paying essentially 12 years ago. So we signed a lease at 50 California 12 years ago, and we were paying about $30, $35 a square foot. Well, when they went to re-up us, they wanted $74 a square foot. And so the board said, well, we can give Shorenstein another $800,000 to stay exactly where we are and have our condition not improve, or we could use that money for something else, put it towards the mission. Like, for instance, processing 100,000 more items every year. We could use some of it for that, maybe some education, maybe give Pat a little bit of relief. Her 4 people doing 500 things, of course. That's an area where we can use some extra person power. So we moved, but we kept the footprint the same, and as a result, our rent is roughly the same as we were paying 12 years ago. But we've had to do some creative things, and that included, we have hot desks now, so a lot of our, not all, but the majority of our data analysts work 5 days in the office, 5 days at home. So we created a pilot. Really, this thing, it's been in the works for a couple of years. And the fact that, I should start at the beginning. I said I was going to do that, and I didn't. The beginning is, the theme is, how do all these things come together, right? So we started a project 4 years ago on how to modernize our computer system. That came online, so now we could see what everybody's doing in their office at any given time. Ben McKay is working on this policy right now. He did 5 policies a day. I can pull up a dashboard, Mike can pull up a dashboard and see what everybody's doing. Are they online or are they offline? Blah, blah, blah. That took 4 years to build. We built that, right? Then, now people want to telecommute. Well, now they can. Why? Because we can watch everything they do from their house. So we set them up at their house, we have the right infrastructure, and now we have the right tools to allow them to do that and to measure their productivity. So these projects that started years ago have enabled us to keep our costs down today. And so it's a long time horizon sometimes to get the payoff, but that's one of the big payoffs for us. So that telecommute has been successful. We've been doing it since November, and production is equivalent. We haven't had a drop off. People tend to like it. It's super important because we have a fair number of employees in the city, and for those of you who are from here, getting from there to here is not an easy task. Those of you in LA just think it's just like LA in terms of the traffic. So that's one success. We've, in the education and compliance, and by the way, yesterday when I was saying that Pat was the font of all knowledge going back to 1937, you all took it wrong. I didn't mean she was around in 1937. All right. So I have to apologize for Pat because everybody took it wrong. It was my fault, couched it incorrect. What I meant to say, what my client meant to say, Your Honor, was Pat has spent more time learning about our industry, getting every possible designation known to mankind in our industry, answering questions for years, every kind of crazy question that can come up and every kind of good question that can come up. She and I have spent many hours just noodling over really good questions that aren't addressed in the statute, and trying to get answers from the department, or try and make up what we think is the most rational, reasonable answer, and create some sort of consistency in that area. So that's what I meant by that. So I was up all night. So I had bags under my eyes. I was like, I'm going to be brutalized at work on Monday. It's going to be terrible. But Pat's unit also does a lot of continuing education classes. They offer 21 classes that are free. We got some good news from the department. They said we could start filming those and turn those into online classes. There's certain criteria that we will have to do, a test at the end to make sure you were paying attention, that sort of thing. We promise it won't be that hard. But that's another way that we're going to be offering continuing education. Part of what drove that was, and Bob brings this up pretty frequently, not everybody is in a position where they can drive to downtown LA and spend an entire day not at the office, especially your newer employees, to get the training. So the education committee has been thinking about this for a couple of years and trying to figure out how do we make offerings available to those people, usually the younger people. And so this is one of the sort of, we think, the quick fixes, but they're going to get the exact same seminar. They're going to see the exact same person. It's just going to be done in a digital form. So that's happening. We visited 20 offices in the past year to do on-site training. So that's something that's available. I don't know that it's widely known that we do that. Usually people call and they have a crisis and we say, well, we'll just send someone to you. They're like, really? Yes. But it's definitely something we do and did 20 times this past year. We've changed how we evaluate the markets. This is Susan's team, fundamentally changing how we look at these companies, how we determine if these companies are safe and solvent for you to place business with. This has been a huge undertaking, and it's been done sort of hand in glove with the department to the extent that you can do it. Those of you who work with the department know that that's a thankless task. They are overwhelmed. It's not because they're bad people, they don't care. They care a lot, but they're just completely overwhelmed. It's hard for them to get good people. A lot of times they're looking to us to hire good people because it used to be, they don't pay so well, but it's a 9-to-5 job and the benefits are great. So I'm a smart guy, I'm going to go work at the department. Well, salaries haven't gone up. You work way more than 9 to 5, and the benefits now are crummy, right? So there's no hook for them to get people. So you go down to the Premium Tax Audit Bureau in LA, and it's crickets. Like 3 people working there, all empty cubicles, right? It's really tough. So that makes it tough for us. So we're having to get creative in how we do our work because we can't just sort of get answers from them in a regular basis. But that's Susan's group's doing great work there. And I should emphasize that all this is being done without raising the stamping fee. We haven't raised the stamping fee in 6 years. So we said 6 years ago, we're gonna work to a budget. Give us a budget. We're going to work to that number. And this is part of what's driving keep the footprint small, do the telecommute, move the office to San Ramon. It's all just keeping expenses under control. And we've been very successful in that. We haven't had to raise the stamping fee. We probably won't, and we certainly don't have to in the foreseeable future. And we're still achieving our mission. And I would suggest that we're doing a lot more now with less than we ever have. On the legislative front, it's been a huge area of emphasis for us. Legislative committee wanted us to get more involved, wanted us to get to know our members, particularly in Sacramento. I think we've done that pretty effectively to the point where, I'm not going to talk too much about this because I'll let Hank talk about it, but we've had more influence, I would say, in the last 12 months in Sacramento than certainly we've had in the 6 years that I've been here. I feel like we have built relationships there. A lot of that goes to Cliston, goes to the team. And that's important. Why? Because you have to have those relationships before something goes wrong. Right? You have to have the relationships before you need them. Because if you show up in Sacramento and you're like, I know you don't know me, but here's what I think, people will be like, yeah, that's great. Right? And they're going to proceed to ignore you. Right? If they know you when you walk in the door, which they know us, we're going to get some things done, and we already have, and we'll talk about that later. Just one last note in terms of politics. This is an important time for us in California politically. Right now, as you probably know, Paul Ryan, as the speaker, has announced he's stepping down. The next likely speaker, if the Republicans hold the House, is going to be Kevin McCarthy of California. If the Democrats take over the House, it's likely to be Nancy Pelosi of California. Right? One of our key issues is the flood bill. The leading person on the flood bill and the person who's likely to become chairman of the Financial Services Committee, if the Democrats take that, is Maxine Waters of California. Right? So the leadership, no matter what happens in Congress, is going to be California. So that's a really important moment. This is an important moment in time for us to have these relationships and to be an effective voice with those hometown folks. So just be thinking about that. If you haven't been politically active, this is a good year to start. Tim testified for us in Sacramento on a wildfire hearing. What he found, I think, and what I found a couple times that I've been there testifying is, they really don't understand insurance. So they really look to the relationships they have. You know, if you get to know a member of the Assembly or a member of Congress, whenever an insurance issue comes up, they're going to call you or have a staffer call you and say, what do you think? And then and you're going to have 1,000 votes with them because whatever you think, they're going to do. Right? If you're their hometown person, it's almost a guarantee. And I say that having worked for members of Congress, having worked for 3 different legislators in the state legislature. It's a guaranteed. So with that, final admonishment, Joy's going to come up here or she's going to stand back there and talk to you. The documents in front of you don't have floors on them, which is going to make it tricky to find where you're going. So Joy is going to fill you in on that right now. Joy?
What we're going to see now is we're going to see one of those things that was planted as a seed at committee day. Then it went through the chain to the board for approval in July. Then the stamping committee approved the money to pay for it, and then ultimately became a full-blown project. And James is going to run a video for us now. And after he runs the video, I'll talk to you about what we're going to do next with the photo and where you're going to go after the photo.
Good morning. I'm Joy Irvin, the COO and Director of the Surplus Line Association of California, and this is our streaming newscast for April 25th, 2018. Today, the SLA is hosting its annual committee day in Lafayette, California. Surplus Lines professionals from all over the state have gathered to collaborate, share ideas, help guide the association as we strive to remain innovative and maintain a healthy, fair, and competitive marketplace. The Surplus Line Association takes to task many of the ideas generated at our committee day and implements them throughout the year. Over the next couple of minutes, we will highlight a few of the projects the SLA is currently working on. Under the direction of Education and Compliance Chair Tim Shea and SLA Senior Vice President of Education Pat McCauley, the SLA will launch an e-learning site later this year. Association members will be able to access and participate in various training courses from anywhere in the world with an internet connection via the SLA website. Association resident members will be able to use the site to fulfill CE requirements, stay up to date on filing procedures, and to continue advancing their knowledge of the industry and the market. The SLA is also currently in production on a series of recruitment videos, led by Pam Quillisi, the chair of the Next Gen Committee. The videos are aimed at attracting the next generation of professionals into our industry. They feature young surplus lines professionals from various companies who relate their personal stories about their careers in the E&S industry. Here are a couple of samples of the current production.
I thought a career in insurance would look something like khaki pants.
I think just like everybody else, insurance sort of found me.
When I got into it, I had no idea what it was. I still did. I mean, surplus lines, I've never heard of that. Who's ever heard of that unless you know somebody that's in it? But now I can't stop telling my friends to get into this industry.
These, you know what, originally, when I started, I thought it would be a setback. Now that I'm 2 years into it, I find that it's made me an individual, it's made me unique.
It's a lot more exciting than it seems. You are engaged more in the world around you, and you're more aware of what it takes to make the world work in insurance.
If I could tell people one thing about the surplus lines industry, I would say that it welcomes all people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter what your skill set is or where you come from. Everything you've ever done can be applicable in one way or another. I want to be valued.
I want to learn.
I want to build a future for myself.
And I want to make a difference.
I majored in theater in college, and I fully expected to move to New York and to spend the rest of my life kind of figuring out where my next meal was coming from. The job that I have is very lucrative, and it is completely stable. I know that I'm going to have a paycheck next week. I know that I'm going to have a roof over my head. I know that in 2 years, I'm still going to have my job. I'm Danielle Sheridan, and I'm a commercial property underwriter. And I live on a boat in San Francisco.
Music bed.
I thought insurance was going to be very dry before I got into it. I thought that I was going to be bored, that I'd have to wear a suit every day, that I'd have no free time. Really the complete opposite of what it actually is. This is not health insurance. It's called excess and surplus lines insurance.
The Next Gen videos will be presented through a variety of different channels, including college career fairs, the SLA Next Gen website portal, and social media. And today, we are streaming from our studio at Bishop Ranch in San Ramon, California. The SLA strives to implement innovative ways to deliver relevant content to our members, stay engaged with regulators and legislators, and to provide proactive and reactive insight of our industry. In the near future, we will regularly streamcast on platforms such as YouTube Live, where we will have the ability to interact during our stream with members, conduct interviews, field questions, and have discussions. These are just a few of the projects the SLA is currently working on. The ideas for these projects and many others are generated from our Committee Day breakout sessions. Our committees are invaluable to the guidance they provide the SLA. These are the Surplus Line Association's 8 committees: Stamping Committee, Admitted Market, Next Gen, Special Advisory, Technology, Legislative, Audit, Education, and Compliance. We look forward to the great ideas our committees will generate here today. Thank you for taking part in the SLA's inaugural Streamcast. I'm Joy Irvin. Good day.
Okay. So yes, that was a dream come true to pretend like I was a newscaster. And I will tell you right now, it took 4 straight days, 8 hours each. That is not easy. Has anybody here ever done anything like that and had to be videoed? It was absolutely, so poor James is like, take number 125. And then inaugural, like I couldn't say the word. And can we just change it to first ever? First ever. Let's just change all these words to easy to pronounce words, okay? And then my eyes would get big and little and big and little. And he's like, you look like you're psychotic. Like, she's like, just calm down. And I'm just like, so you're trying to look natural, but you can't be natural. It's so hard, but I loved it. And I'm going to do it every day. I've decided I'm going to go into broadcasting. I'm going to be on TV. Does anybody here watch the Channel 2 News? Garcia? So anybody who's seen any of the newscasters, so I was watching the news and taking notes. And then she did this. Oh yeah, and then she moved her hands like that. So it was a lot of fun. But that's one of the projects that we're working on, is that video is the wave of the future, and we're going to do more videos. Recently, I changed something on my TV cable bill, and they sent me an email, and they said, watch a short video on the changes you asked to be made. And I was thinking, wow, everything is going to video. Ben's always talked about how he goes to YouTube to do anything, fixes car lights and things like that. And so the SLA is thinking the same thing. And it came out of an idea from Committee Day that we had someone who said, well, why don't we push out content where we discuss, even if it's a 3-minute video on what the diligence search is and why and how to fill it out, or the D1. And then you saw the videos we took of some of the Next Gen. How can we provide those types of videos to our members? If someone, a camera needed something done for his office, he would contact us and we would work with him to get a video done. We're building up this library, this resource that we are able to push out to everyone else, and we need all of your ideas of what types of videos we can produce and what would be helpful to you and to your clients, to the retailers, anyone who is in the industry that could use some information in a quick, easy way, and they can watch it from anywhere, streaming on their phone or on their Surface or laptop. So that was a really fun project, and I'd be more than happy to do more and more and more videos and be, hi, I'm Joy Irvin, and I loved it. It was really fun. So now we're going to do a group photo. We're going to do it out on the patio, and then after we finish our group photo, you'll be moving to your breakout session.